Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Renature. So Renature is a relatively straightforward game. It is a game of dominoes, but the dominoes, instead of numbers, they have pictures of various animals, and you're trying to match those animals to enable you to continue the path. Whenever you put a domino down, you will put a tree or plant into one of the plant spaces next to the domino, assuming, of course, there are actually some plant spaces next to you. Whenever you place a plant down, you'll get a point for that plant and any plant that's same size or smaller. Once an area is totally surrounded, you will then get points for having a majority in that area, and the larger the plant, obviously the more value it has. So you might have 4 points worth for one plant, whereas someone else who's taking up the same amount of space only has 1 point worth for their one small plant. Now here's where the game gets interesting, is that anyone who has an equal number, it doesn't matter if your equal number is the most or the least, if you've got equal numbers, it actually counts as if that plant color is not in the garden at all. So I could theoretically go to a garden that has 2 colors fighting over it and both of them be up 5, 6, 7 worth of plants in that garden, and put a 1 in there to finish the garden off, and I may actually get all of the points for that garden simply because the others were matching with their point numbers. On top of that, you also have some beige pieces that you can put out which belong to no one, but they all add up to count as someone else potentially scoring. So if the beige is the majority holder in an area, no one gets the large points. There is a minority points, but no one gets the large points. And so there's this constant to and fro of which type of plant to put on, who's got the majority on this spot, etc., etc. Obviously, the larger the area is, the more points are potentially there. There's also points for the person who closes a space off in terms of a little token, which has some points on it that are unseen. So there's a little bit of variation, a little bit of chance on having a slightly higher points or slightly less points. We're talking 2 or 3 points, not 1 or 15. We're really small values, but it might be enough to make a difference at the end of the game because those are hidden points. On top of that, there are some cloud icons or tokens that you can spend to have another go straight away, or to recall one of your pieces so that you can then use it again. And obviously the larger pieces, they'll cost more clouds. Or you can spend clouds to change what is regarded as the wild animal. The wild animal means that that picture can go next to any pictures. Otherwise, you need to make sure that every part of the piece that you're putting down, the domino piece that you're putting down, matches all of the potential things that are lining up to it. And there's a lot of thinking on that to kind of stop and go, if I put that there, that's fine. That one matches with that one. But this spot over here, I really want that. How do I get that spot? If I've got 3 different dominoes coming in and all of them are showing something different, you need to have the wild animal going into that spot to then extend down. So there's an awful lot of thinkingness happening throughout. The actual explanation of the rules and understanding of what's happening is actually relatively straightforward and relatively easy to understand. I do have a little bit of a question mark over 1 or 2 of the nuances, I guess. It's about the scoring of an area. So if you have, once an area is totally surrounded, if you have the majority, you get the large points. If you have the second majority, you get the second largest points. If you're equal with someone else, then you don't get scored at all. It's as if your color isn't in there at all. Beige counts as part of that scoring manipulation, which means that if beige and a color both have the same number, no one gets any points for that. And I think that's something I didn't realize till partway through the gameplay. So the beginning of the gameplay is going to have a misunderstanding of that rule. I do apologize for it. But it's not spelt out 100%. Like, it's kind of spelled out, but you've got to read a little bit deeper to understand that that rule exists all the way through the game. There's a lot of kind of mathiness happening with it, But in essence, it's a game of dominoes, and that's really the game. That's the quirk of the game. It's fun. It's nice. It's kind of, oh yeah, I remember dominoes. I played with them when I was a kid. This is how we're supposed to use them, and just doing something slightly different with that. I don't know if I've got any other games that have that similar idea of just placing dominoes, and then you're able to do stuff off that. But that's what this game is. I kind of appreciate that. I've got a lot of these nature kind of games. So it might be birds or it might be butterflies. I think I was talking about butterflies a couple of weeks back. There's a lot of those butterfly games. But these kind of natural games, and they all have this kind of just a relaxed feel to them. And I appreciate that every now and then. It's just like, oh, okay. But within that relaxed feel, there's an awful lot of tension with, oh, which one do I go for? Which one's this person going to go for? And that back and forward of, I can go after this, but then that leaves that open. Or I can just ignore that they exist and go after this because that's got more spots on it. There's an awful lot of that kind of thought process going on. I really appreciate this game. I think it's a worthwhile one to look into. The copyright on it says it was released last year, so I've got to assume that is correct. I hadn't seen it before when I came across and picked up just a few weeks back, but this one came out last year. So I recommend having a look at it, having a look into it. If you're into games that kind of use very familiar mechanisms, so the domino mechanism, but do something else, then this might actually be a really worthwhile game for you. There's enough about this one to make it worthwhile to think through and to play and to kind of throw around what's going to work. But anyway, look, I think I'll leave that there. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.